It's 12:30, Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. Call this meeting to order. We're here for a discussion on the Sheriff's Department's various physical plant problems. So, Commissioner Zimmerman, did I hear you say you wanted to start us off?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, we had an issue over the Sheriff's Department last Thursday or Friday?
I believe it was last Thursday, and it's been an ongoing issue with the plumbing the last couple of months, but it's been getting really bad the last 3 weeks.
So we had to use an emergency service, basically called in Apollo Plumbing. They came in, and because it was starting to back up, there was 2 bathrooms upstairs that weren't working. So we called them in, and as we were talking to, and they found a t-shirt and some plug drains and
Yep.
things like that, and they're going to have to come back. But just for that alone, I'd like to be able to use, just for that billing, I'd like to be able the board to be able to use grant funding just to pay for that, since that's probably going to be expensive. They had to open up the line and fish the t-shirt out, which
Yep.
you guys couldn't find before. So
No,
they've got the lines open, and so that bill we haven't got yet.
no.
So I'd like to make that a separate issue. The ongoing issue is we have the plug drains. Some of that needs to be replaced on the sinks. And then there's also a system that we want to look into, and it's called a PIN system. And what happens is the jail is always having problems with somebody flushing socks, sheets, whatever, t-shirts down there to basically to flood the jail so they can get, So what they have now is they have a PIN system. And a PIN system, it'll go to either each toilet or between each toilet, and this PIN system will catch
Anything
those
that
items
comes through.
so that they don't go and get into our main system and then compromise our whole sewer system, and then which could lead to transporting everybody to Kootenai and the expense of that. So we're looking at doing that and fixing up some of the cold water and hot water issues where
Yes.
right now the temperatures are varying, and we're kind of out of specs and that, with what we're supposed to be. So I'll turn more to you.
So as far as the water temp, we have some cell blocks that are super cold, right? 60 degrees, 68 degrees, whatever the water is. And some cell blocks that are way too hot. The inmates can't even take a shower. They got to splash water on themselves just to try to clean up because it's so hot. And talking to Apollo, they want to put in some kind of individual water temp regulators on the shower, the sinks, so we can maintain the same degree temperature in every area. Right now, each block shares a control valve that controls both blocks, but that control valve that controls the temperature, if I'm saying this right, it works right there. But as you go farther down the block where the next sink is, the shower, and then the next sink, it's just either it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, or colder and colder and colder. As it's going, as the water's going down, to my knowledge, if I heard that correctly.
Yes. Okay.
And then the other thing was they discussed putting every fixture its own shut-off valve. So if they did flush a t-shirt or a sheet, we could, or tried flooding, instead of shutting all the water down, we can shut it off individually. We can narrow it down, shut it off. If we have to do work, take something apart to pull the sheet off, we're not shutting off everybody's water.
Yeah.
And that would be good because they could actually break one of the valves,
Mm-hmm.
break it open, so we just have to shut one off, one down instead of shutting everything down.
Okay, so what are you proposing, Commissioner?
I'm proposing that we, the plumbing is a necessary upgrade, or a necessary fix that we need, not only the hot water, the cold water, but the sewer system, and then that PIN system, which will really give us more control over our system as a whole, so it's not compromised. And then we also have an issue downstairs where it floods the basement. And we have a drain system there that is either backed up, broken. They don't know yet. It's been flooding for the last 5 years or more.
Yeah, and it's just getting worse.
And it destroys their personal property and so forth. So I'm looking at expending some grant funds on this plumbing project to get the building back up to where it should be. And Apollo's talking about they can get on it right away. We have to get another. I guess we can have them bid that project. Now there's another project that's going to be separate from the plumbing, and that's the boilers. Both boilers are really old. They've been limping on one and not had a backup for like 3 years. So the parts of one is keeping this one running, and it's about $5,000 to get the other one up and running. But like I said, it's old and you can't find the parts for them. So it's probably about time we probably replace them both with new ones, which will also give us energy savings.
And we have no backup now as it
We have
is,
no
so
backup.
So last winter for a few days, both boilers were down, and we had to rob parts from the busted up boiler to get the one that's limping back to limping again. And we got through the winter, but if the one that's limping goes out this year, we're going to be in a world of hurt with staff and the inmates that are in there, and yeah.
Right, would that be a separate issue, the boilers?
Yes, the boilers would be what would be their own on their own. We use the heating contractor there, and then the plumbing contractor. So we bid out both of them at different times. And and it'll be as quick as we can with the boilers. I would imagine, so that winter start to come. The fall's here, so
Even if we could get one new boiler in there, and then let the other one limp, and that one goes, go to the new boiler, and then replace the one that died this winter. I don't know if that's an option or not, just to buy us a little bit more time.
Do we have any idea how much grant money we're needing to set aside to do this kind of thing?
they off the cuff, because they do both, was about 250,000. But that's, that's a high ball. That's, that was before they came in and looked at everything. It appears that our plumbing is in okay shape. Some of the sewer lines and everything.
Yeah.
There was, they were thinking that they were going to have to be busting walls out and replacing our 6-inch lines, but actually they run a camera down them and they're in okay, and they're not in bad shape.
Okay.
So that's probably less, but I think we should just
Estimate high. for
estimate
security.
high, and then, and these are contract only, so it'll be going to, either whatever contractor it's gonna cost, that's what's gonna cost. So we won't have any, we won't need to purchase anything. It would just be the contractors that purchase everything.
And what grant funds are you thinking, or have you guys discussed?
So just a quick blush, there's the money that was left over from the HVAC, that there is still about $130,000 left in that. and we're done with the CSN work on it. So that original set aside for the 640 for that is done. So that leaves 133,000 in that pot of money.
Okay.
There is more in that fund, so until I go through and kind of get a firm grasp on this, but it's looking like we would have enough to do about 200,000.
We may be able to have 200,000 out of that fund.
If not, we can out of LATCF if there's not enough.
But you're talking Slurpee,
Both of them, yeah. We have the two pots of money that we can make it work one way or the other, depending on how this comes about from the bidding side. And I'm still pulling back in and getting responses to how much is actually left in the Slurpee money. That's the one that we have to have contractually obligated by the end of this year. And I've got a couple things lined up for that, but there's still money that I'm pinning down on, is this going to be used or not, from projects that were approved. So just looking solely at the 800,000 for the county set aside, there is unspent right now. There's 230, and 138 that has been approved, or at least said this is what we think we're going to spend, and not spent.
So we may have some that's already been approved for the HVAC.
We do, yes, and that is a for sure. That's 133,000.
And that HVAC is heating too, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So it's already been decided on.
Mhm.
Maybe we should get some bids for the heating on the side over here and then figure out what the plumbing is gonna cost,
Mhm.
since we've already got the HVAC approved. And then we'll just be approving the plumbing side, because I can't imagine that, I don't know how much boilers are. I'll let you figure that out. We'll have to call, or have Apollo, and then
Yeah.
I got another gentleman locally that wants to put a bid in, and then we can get somebody else to put on the heating. So what do you think?
well, it probably has to be done. I see the 130, that makes sense that we would apply that separately to the heating, the boilers. I don't know what to do with the plumbing one until we have a
Bid.
and we're gonna have to have multiple bids, right? I mean, I think, it sounds like we have the money.
Mhm.
And it sounds like we have a need, so.
Right.
So curiosity to kind of wrap my head around this timeframes, and what this is gonna look like for the business side, but what are we at? I mean, there was some emergency repairs that had to be done, from my understanding that. Where are we on the potential failure of your plumbing system?
It's unpredictable.
And I didn't know, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, I didn't know if the scoping, when they went in and did camera work, if they said, okay, this part's good, this part we're looking at in a couple months, or,
As far as the plumbing, it sounded like Apollo could get in there pretty quick and fix the issues. As far as the boiler, I feel like we're on crunch time. Snow's gonna fly soon. I mean, both areas are so important, if inmates, can't use the facilities and shower, the way they should be showering, bad things can happen. And could end up costing us a lot more in the future. And it's the same thing with the boiler. But the boiler, like I said, we only have one that's limping along, and that thing could, once we start it up, could last a week, maybe the winter, a couple of months. I don't know, but once that boiler's down, we're done.
So
We have a liability to provide this.
So we can get on the heating,
seems like the boiler
the
is.
heating deal today. I'll contact, see, you had Apollo, and then River.
I had Apollo and CSN.
Okay, yeah, you see us in, and then there's another gentleman locally that gave me his number that wanted to look at it. I don't know if he's even has a public license or not, so I'll just shoot him. So if we have 3 bids, that'll take care of that.
Perfect, and then we just need to start working on the bidding process for plumbing.
Um,
And I have
yes.
one bid coming in for the plumbing, so we gotta work on 2 others.
Do you have a scope of work? My ask is so that we can uniformly send out a request for bid.
Like of
So
what
that
needs to be
everybody-
done?
Yeah.
That's what
We need a
we're,
scope of work.
That's one of the problems we're running into because we have, in order to do a scope of work, they're gonna have to spend some money and do some scoping.
Well, and if
So-
if you know right now that you need potentially boilers replaced,
Oh,
and
we
that's
know
kind
that
of the
one.
end goal,
That one,
that's all I'm asking for. I'm not saying total
The
scope of
plumbing.
work. We're just saying, right now, we need a bid on this
The
project.
plumbing.
We don't know what it looks like. We know that the boilers are gonna fill. We're assuming that they're gonna have to be replaced. We want you to bid on this.
yeah. Okay,
And if it comes in better, great. So what is your worst case, which sounds like they need to be replaced? Create a bid packet on it, and just a 1-pager that says, you know, what you're looking for, who to respond to, and the time frame where to send them. So just the exact same that goes out to all the people and then send it out to multiples. And then, you know, as long as we get the hopefully 3 responsive bids.
I do know that, in Follow, they're gonna send us a bid, hopefully sometime this week, and a scope of what needs to be done for the plumbing.
Okay,
At least that's what they said last week, and I'll call them up and see where they're at with it. 'Cause I know they
and
took a
then we
lot
can
of.
probably piggyback off of that if they wouldn't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I hate to have somebody come and do all the work and go through everything and say, well, this is
well, we're gonna
what you
use
need, but
yours.
this guy's, well, we can do that.
Right.
So, okay.
All right, so we probably need to take a vote on what to do with that 130,000, or we all agreed it's already earmarked for heating?
It's earmarked for HVAC,
Okay.
so
We're
it's
all
just
good
that
with
you're
that.
okay with using it for that.
And on the plumbing, we really need a bid, an estimate.
An idea of what that
would
would
be.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else?
No.
Good. Merry Christmas.
Right.
All right, then I guess with that, we are adjourned.